Here at Active Self-Protection, we just try to call balls and strikes and make sure that we use deadly force only when we really have to. Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Carew.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Nashville, Tennessee.
Lucky Gunner is my recommended trusted provider of freedom seeds for range or defensive use. In stock, good prices, and rocket-fast shipping are why I go back again and again. Because of new guidelines, I can't link their site or say it, but you're smart and you can find it with a simple Google search. Stick it to the man by paying them a visit today. 911 has been called because this man has gotten drunk, stole his sister's car, then came back with it, and is now holding his roommate at knife point. Mom and the sister bailed out of the house, called 911. Officers are here to confront a man with a hostage at knife point. Let's listen into the badge cams.
Where are you?
Kill him.
He's got a hostage. 23's got a hostage. Get your rifle. Or somebody. He's got a hostage behind the door. Hey man, it's Officer Rancine from Metro. I just want to talk.
If you open this door, I slit his throat. I'm not going to jail for another year.
Well, here's the thing, boss. My name's Officer Brazee.
I've got nothing left to lose. You got nothing to talk to. You got a choice. You open the door and you kill me and you kill him, or you go away.
Alright, hey boss, we can't do that, you know that.
No. Listen, Dad.
Hey Josh, can you answer the phone?
He kicked the phone because he's not stupid with a knife to his throat.
Well, here's the thing. Someone out there wants to talk to you, okay?
I don't care for no one. I have no one left.
Yes sir you do. You got all these folks here for you.
That's fine for you. It's not fine for me.
Josh, right now you're not in trouble, buddy. You're not in trouble at all.
Every single person says on every fucking shit.
We're concerned for you, alright? You're not in trouble.
You want to call this phone? It's going to cost you a life.
If I get a shot, I'm taking it.
I want to talk to my sister.
You want to talk to your sister?
Bring her upstairs.
Hey, Josh?
I don't care. I'm not listening to nothing.
No. Hey.
I have nothing left. I would die before I talk to a fucking pig.
Okay. Would you like to talk with your sister?
You can go watch the original on this one. They actually negotiated with this guy for about 40 minutes from the beginning to the end. This is sped up simply for the sake of time, and that was sped up in the original. So Nashville PD sped this up and said they negotiated for a total of about 40 minutes with this guy. He did not want to talk to the cops. You absolutely heard that. They asked him if he wanted to talk to his sister. Let's continue to listen in.
This is a commercial, my friends. You have 2 more songs. Shine the light. Come closer. I see your feet. Open the door and I'll slit his fucking throat.
I'm not opening the door.
Not opening the door, Josh.
Now you're going to hear what goes down here. That he's going to start tussling behind the door. When you hear it, things are going to go south real fast.
Closed bedroom door, they entered.
I gotta go. Let me see your hands! Let me see them right now! Let me see them right now!
He hit me.
Hey, drop it!
Oh.
Back up!
If you were paying real close attention, you saw that at the second that the shot broke, the perpetrator here was unarmed. His right hand did not have a knife in it, and he did not make it through his injury. That shot proved fatal. The family has then filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the officer and against the department because they said that never should have happened. We'll talk about it in the lessons. We finally got a restock in the web shop for the ASP t-shirts. It has the ASP logo on it that says good, sane, sober, moral, and prudent repeated on it. These are super cool in lots of different colors. Head to the web store and pick one up, would you? Helps us kind of run the business here and bring you these lessons every day. These kinds of incidents are always just crazy difficult. And I know, Mike, people are gonna be like, well, why weren't there any mental health professionals on scene? They'd actually called for a crisis response team to come in here, but first of all, there wasn't one. They were already involved in another call. And number two, when somebody's got a hostage at knife point, you know, they're not going to put a clinician at risk here. And so there's kind of a no-win situation that crisis response or mental health professionals are not going to put themselves in the kind of position with a knife-wielding hostage taker. And I don't know why we don't understand that better.
Yeah, I think what we need to start seeing, hopefully, at some point, is more officers who are out in the field, who get some advanced training in negotiating, some advanced training in this sort of thing. Because like John said, first of all, they call them PERT teams where I'm from, psychiatric emergency response teams. And those teams are great to have, but you know, if you're in a big area, like having enough of those to cover every possible eventualities is unlikely. However, if 50% or 60% of your officers and deputies are trained, some advanced training on de-escalation and negotiating all this crisis intervention, you stand a better chance. Now that said, I think these guys really, really gave it the old college try here, trying to negotiate with this guy. And from what I didn't listen to all 40 minutes of it, but from what I did listen to, this guy was not about to be de-escalated. He was not about to be negotiated with. He didn't want to talk. It was a brick wall from the beginning until the end. So I think while they did their best for a very long period of time, trying to keep this young man from the end. Oh man, I can talk today. They try to prevent this from ending the way that it ended, unfortunately.
Yeah, and listen, I am a realistic de-escalation strategy certified instructor. I teach cops this stuff, and also a crisis intervention team trained person, one of the few non-sworn who's been through that kind of training. And what you said is exactly right, Mike. You cannot de-escalate anyone. You can open doors for them to de-escalate themselves. You can provide them off-ramps for them to do that. But again, this guy is drunk. He very well could be in a manic episode. I'm not a clinician, so I couldn't diagnose that. But, he says, I don't want to talk to pigs. I don't want to answer my phone. They're trying to get him in contact with his sister. Hey, man, pick your phone up. Talk to your sister. We want to, get through this together. And so, I think these officers did an okay job, but recognize that you want to make contact, then do the best you can to start to build rapport. Hey, man, we're here to help. And again, not I'm Officer Smith or I'm Officer Correa with Nashville PD. It's, hey man, my name's John. I'm here to help. We're just trying to make sure everyone is safe. What's going on tonight? What caused the problem tonight? How did things get where we are tonight? What can we do to make it sure that you're safe tonight and that everything's okay tonight? Sometimes those questions and letting him talk and letting that kind of escape valve happens. And it's all okay. And I love the fact, Mike, here that they slowed their roll until such time as they couldn't slow their roll.
Yeah. So, I was never in a position exactly like this in my career, but I can imagine, I can put myself in this position and theorize what I might do. They've been there for a long period of time. They hadn't heard any scuffles, anything else going on, so they had time to negotiate. But once this starts to go down like it's going down, once you hear a ruckus coming from the room, you have to imagine that there is a struggle and there is a knife involved. And so, an innocent party might be getting stabbed or about to get stabbed right now. So you have to act. So just standing out there and letting things happen isn't really an option, right? These guys have to do something. So they did the natural thing, which is, okay, we got to get in there. Unfortunately, this is going to suck. This is a poop sandwich. We all got to take a bite. But, I think it takes bravery to rush through a closed door like that. You have no idea what you're going to find on the other side. So the bravery that it takes to step in and do something like this is commendable. And I think they waited as long as they possibly could. Obviously, he forced their hand, as John likes to say. This guy put the quarter in the jukebox. He did all these things that led up to this. Sure, he was drunk, right? But that's not an excuse for this behavior. He did the things that led up to what ended up happening, and it's unfortunate, but here we are.
And if you go read the news stories that I've linked in the description, one of the things that the mother said that was just so egregious, and she said, that man had a plan to kill my son, because at some point he said, if I have the shot, I'm going to take it. If I get the shot, I'm going to take it. Well, that's simply mental pre-programming, right? This guy's threatening somebody with a knife. We've been negotiating with him for 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. And I've got to, at some point, recognize that that poor hostage has rights too. And so if I get the opportunity to end the threat, I'm going to do so. I don't view that as mens rea. That's not an evidence that he meant or intended to kill anything like that, but that he is of the mindset that I have to take care of the entirety of the public. And hey, they waited as much time as they could. But like you said, Mike, once that tussle starts, now we're in emergency time. Now we're not in, we can sit and wait. You know, we joke that SWAT stands for sit, wait, and talk. And these guys aren't SWAT. I'm not saying that, but recognize that, hey, I got to get in there. He does a great job of coming in, kicking that door in. And I want to pay attention to what we see here because I think it's really important, Mike. Because the first thing he sees when he kicks in that door, we have a hostage situation, man with a knife, and now I see people tussling in a big, what we'd call a messed up tangle. Would a reasonable person at that point say, I have a deadly threat here, given those totality of the circumstances? I can't say no to that.
Yeah, concur. This is exactly the worst thing you could see coming through the door, other than the victim being actively stabbed. You got a mess. You can't shoot right now. You don't know who's who immediately right off the bat. You have to make these determinations very, very quickly. And this is kind of the second worst case scenario coming through the door is you've got an absolute mess. You got to figure these things out very, very quickly. And I don't envy this officer being in this position. And again, the easy thing to do would be to wait outside and be like, well, I don't, it's, I hate to say it, but like Uvalde style, and be like, well, there's stuff going on in there, but officer safety is really important. So we got to wait out here and, hopefully it'll work itself out. This is your job. This is why you're here. A quick note about what John said. I saw the interview with a mother too. She's understandably grief-stricken, right? I get that. But to claim that mens rea exists, that criminal intent exists because he said what he said is foolish. This officer's probably, I don't know for sure, never shot anyone. So the idea that that's a very likely outcome of this is there's a certain amount of mental preparation. That 40 minutes he's thinking, I may have to shoot someone right now. Like this is something I may have to do. And I always talk about having had that conversation with yourself. Can I pull the trigger if I need to? That applies for police officers, military members, private citizens who carry a firearm. Can I do this? And so I think a certain amount of even out loud self-talk prior to it doesn't amount to a hill of beans, in my opinion, as far as establishing any criminal intent on this officer's part. That's just my 2 cents.
I completely agree. Here's the thing. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes is famous in the case of Brown versus United States for saying that we cannot expect cool reflection at the point of an upturned knife. That we can't, you and I are sitting here watching this video. We get to pause it here. We get to spend as much time as we want looking, and a jury will as well. No question there. But I want to recognize that the officer doesn't have that luxury. He kicks in the door and has to immediately respond. He has to right now make a decision based on the very limited information that he has. And because of that, he's going to make the first okayest decision that comes to his mind. We call that recognition prime decision making. Or hey, it's not what are all the possibilities in the universe and which one of them is the very best given all the time in the world to reflect. No, it's right in the moment. And we learn that from watching fighter pilots of all things. Like this is Colonel Boyd from watching World War II fighter pilots, the OODA loop, and this idea of recognition prime decision making. So what does he see here? He sees a life or death struggle from a victim to defend their life. Now, I do want to note here, as we move forward through the frames, that the only time we actually see the perpetrator's hands is right at the very end here. And when the officer's shot breaks, if you look right at the bottom of the grip of his firearm, you can see the right hand of the deceased, of the perpetrator here. And it does not appear to have a knife in it. But what was in that hand half a second, 3/4 of a second before? I don't know because it's not visible on the badge cam. We don't know what was going on with that man's hand and what the officer saw in the moment. And so I haven't had access to the internal affairs investigation. I haven't had access to any of the discovery and the interviews with the officer for the criminal investigation or the civil investigation. And so I can't tell you what the officer perceived and whether or not that was what a reasonable person would believe was a threat of death to the victim. But I also want to recognize we can't see on the badge cam. So do I love it that he shot a man who does not have a knife in his hand in that moment? No, nobody would love that. But it doesn't mean that what he did was not reasonable because we don't know. And Mike, I think reserving that judgment for the full light of discovery is best here.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't tell you, and neither can John 100% one way or the other if this is a justified shooting, right? Because there's things we don't know. We don't know what's in his left hand. The officer can't possibly tell what's in his left hand right now. The knife could be there. It's possible the knife was in his right hand and the officer saw that. In which case, if that were true, so holding the knife in his right hand when this guy pulled the trigger, you'd be like, well, he wasn't threatening him with it, or he wasn't. Listen, we gave, I think it was some agency around Los Angeles, a whole bunch of guff recently because they had a guy in front of them who was basically about to plunge a knife into someone, and they waited. They didn't shoot him right away. We're like, no, that guy needs to get shot right this second. If this guy had a knife in his right hand, he needs to be shot right that second. And here's why. It'll take him less than a second to plunge that knife into this guy's abdomen or chest or neck or whatever. And then it's a possibility he's injured so badly that he could be in an operating theater in 30 seconds and still bleed to death. So the officer, hopefully we can follow up on this, right, and find out exactly what the circumstances were. I would love to do another follow-up video at some point. But, that said, we understand why you think this looks bad. We understand why you think this looks like cold-blooded, calculated murder. We understand why the mom feels the way she does. But I think sometimes, the lessons or the justification for the stuff isn't always immediately clear. At the end of the day, these officers tried really hard to negotiate. They went into a very dangerous situation to try to protect innocent life and cover their ass.